What is up, everybody? Welcome to Pub Sports Radio and welcome to Stat Diggers for UFC. Who the hell is that? We have Ciryl Gane going against a vampire and Sergey Spivak. I think it's going to be a very fun main event. This is a card where we have a ton of newcomers. I think it's like, what is it, like 8 or 9? It's a ton of newcomers on this card. It is a heavy card full of France fighters, and I spent a lot of the day taping a lot of these new fighters. And it was definitely a grind, but here we are, Weezy. We are here on a Sunday, breaking down some UFC France. How are you looking forward to this card?
It's an interesting one for sure. You know, like that main card, pretty much from top to bottom, has got really good fights on it. And then we've just got a lot of prospects and a lot of debutantes on this card, a lot of local French flavor on this card. So it's going to be something that, you know, I think a lot of the local fans there are going to know and appreciate some of these names from the regional scene. We've got Taylor Lapalus. Well, you know, we did have Taylor Lapalus coming back to the UFC, but now Muin Gafarov had visa issues. You know, you almost never hear of that in Tajikistan, but evidently visa issues now have killed that fight. So we're down to 11. We've got all the stats here that are available. A lot of these people haven't fought in the UFC before, but you know, watched all the tape, looking to find some spots. And as you know, Brady, it's always the cards where we're stacking cash tickets like flapjacks that are our favorites. So who cares what time it starts? Who cares who wins as long as we win money? And that's the most important thing. So let's find the spots here for us in the chat and get some money to all of our Pub Sports Radio brethren here. I'm really looking forward to this card.
Let's do it. And Cole's bringing up a very good question early on. Are you allowed to bring like garlic or maybe a crucifix into the cage on Saturday?
I think that at the very least it's illegal, but if not, it's probably frowned upon. You know, so I don't know. I mean, the French do love their garlic. Believe me, if you ever had good French cooking, you know, they know about the wonders of garlic all over Europe. And it's not just to keep vampires away. It's also to help you make delicious food. But and the French certainly knows a thing or two about delicious food, but they don't let you bring garlic in the cage, brother. You know, like he might be able to like come out wearing a garlic necklace while he's walking to the cage. But you know, when they you know get him ready to go in there, they'll take off that garlic necklace. And as long as Spivak's nowhere near it at the time, you know, I think he'll be able to perform well. So that's going to be something that we do need to figure out, though. Get those rules actually hammered out and find out. Get some real answers from the UFC brass about this, because we need to know whether this fight is taking place at daytime. We need to know whether Ciryl Gane's allowed to bring a crucifix into the cage, garlic into the cage. You know, does Sergey Spivak have to be invited into the octagon in order to enter it? There's a lot of questions that need to be answered, Brady, but we're going to find those answers for you today here on Stat Diggers.
That's what it's all about. I mean, we like to dive deep. We like to dive deep here on Stat Diggers. Cover all the angles. Before we get started, we'll do a quick recap of yesterday. It was kind of a weird card. Woke up super early for it. How'd you do yesterday? I knew you were very close for actually a really good night.
Yeah, it would have been a decent night. I would have been up like 2.5 units. I had the over 2.5 rounds in the Holloway Zombie fight, and it was a bet that I just absolutely loved. The data loved it. You know, Max Holloway can't be finished. Max Holloway's 13 5-round fights in the UFC, 12 of them had went over 2.5 rounds, and Zombie's a pretty durable dude. We saw in the second round, he got dropped. He got put in a deep Darce choke, but never gave up. But then he just kind of came out blasting like Yosemite Sam at the beginning of the third round there. And he said, you know what? One of us is going down. And that one was the Korean Zombie. And that was the fourth leg of the greasy four-legger. And the first three legs had cashed. I had the Na Liang under 2.5 rounds. I had the Kazama Armfield under 2.5 rounds. I had Waldo Cortez Acosta's money line. Waldo Cortez Acosta was the ass shaving of the week. He made it look easy. He hit Lucas Bresky so hard that he didn't know where he was anymore, and he started trying to walk home. Did you see that? He turned around, and he's like, I'm going to walk home on very unsteady legs. And then like he actually got knocked out from behind. That's how badly Waldo Cortez Acosta turned him around there. But yeah, down 0.5 units. So the losing bets was a 1.5 unit parlay on the Waldo Cortez Acosta money line with the over 2.5 rounds for Holloway versus Zombie. I also had 1 unit on Toshiomi Kazama's money line at plus 150. That was a terrible bet. He looked absolutely awful, and Armfield looked fantastic. And I knew that was a great under 2.5 or fight doesn't go to decision bet, because if Kazama didn't get the grappling going, he was going to get knocked out. We all knew that. So, yeah, so down 0.5 units. I did cash on the finish only prop on Waldo Cortez Acosta for 2.15 units. That won me 1 unit. And then I also had another unit on something else. I don't even remember. Oh, yeah, it was the Naliang under 2.5 rounds at minus 105. Got that for 1 unit. So, yeah, just really pissed off that fight didn't go over 2.5 rounds. I would have hit the greasy 4-legger and been up 2.5 units. So, but on to this week, I've already got 1 bet. I have already had another bet canceled, which definitely would have hit. But anyway, on to the next, Brady. But I know that you had another fantastic week. Why don't you break it down for the people?
Yeah, it was a pretty good week overall. I'll start real quick with the losses. So I had 3 losses. The first one was Kinoshita inside the distance, 1 unit plus 120. Billy Goff's a dog. I mean, this guy has that dog, and he was getting hit with some nasty shots. Kinoshita looked really sharp early, but Billy Goff kind of weathered the early storm and then landed that body shot and got him out of there. The under probably wouldn't have been ideal, but the under was like minus 200, something crazy like that. So that was a unit down the drain. This next bet, I knew it wasn't cashing as soon as I saw the walkout. I had a half unit shot on Rolando Bedoya by knockout at plus 205. I mean, when you show up with a hairstyle like that, I mean, there's no way you're going to win the fight. So horrible performance from Rolando Bedoya. And like we say, Weezy, overrating people in a loss. Everybody, including me, overrated Rolando Bedoya in his loss against Chaos Williams, and he showed up and looked like a complete bum and lost to Song Kanan. So note taken, don't overrate people in losses. And then my other loss was this one kind of hurt. I had the Rinya Nakamura, Fernie Garcia under 1.5, minus 155, 1.5 units. My thinking was I don't see Fernie lasting 7.5 minutes with this guy. And then Rinya Nakamura went out there and proceeded to attempt like 30 different submissions. Like I've never seen anything like it. Fernie was able to fight out of every single one of them. He had that north-south choke in the first round, super deep. Fernie didn't tap. He got out. So, yeah, shout out to Fernie. Fernie's next level tough. So those were the losses. The wins, this was my favorite bet of the night. It was the under 2.5 rounds, JJ Aldrich, Liang Na, 2 units. And Mystic Lissa said in the chat, Liang Na is so cut. I mean, there's no Liang Na slander. Liang Na has been a money train for me and you, Weezy, because we are 3-0. We are 3-0 betting the under 2.5 in Liang Na fights. Believe it or not, the under 2.5 in this Liang Na fight closed at minus 180. And I was thinking to myself, if Liang Na was fighting anybody other than JJ Aldrich, who had like a 20% finish rate, that would have been a max bet. But she was fighting Aldrich, and she still found a way to get finished. So shout out to Liang Na, cashing the under 2.5 rounds. I had 2 units on the Chidi and Jaquani Mikhail Olazechuk fight ends by knockout. Minus 162. I thought it was a great way to get the minus 300 fight doesn't go price tag down, considering these guys are both strikers. And man, what a banger fight that was. Chidi was landing some nasty kicks to the body, knees to the body. Mikhail ate them all. And then Mikhail ended up getting on top and pounding out Chidi and making him quit. Once again, cashing that fight ends by knockout ticket for 2 units. I also was on the under 2.5 rounds in the Armfield Kazama fight, 1.5 units, minus 145. Armfield striking looked really good and was able to knock out Kazama's 3rd knockout loss there. This one was a fun one. I had Junior Tafa by knockout, 1 unit plus 115. He went out there and flatlined Parker Porter. Just like his brother did, which was nice. So that cash plus money there. And then I sprinkled the Max Holloway 3, 4, and 5 round props. And to be fair, these were like the weakest props I've ever seen. Round 3 was 700, round 4 was 900, and round 5 was 1100. But especially after I heard the Korean Zombie talking about retirement, how this may be his last fight, I was more so of the opinion of I think Holloway does get him out of there late. And then, he almost got him out of there in the 2nd round. And then the Korean Zombie went out there in the 3rd round fighting like a madman and got clipped. You do not go chin for chin with Max Holloway and ended up geting knocked out. So I was able to cash the Holloway round 3. at plus 700 for a quarter unit. Overall, plus 3.46 units. Solid night. Would have been a really good night. It had Randy Nakamura submitted for Ernie Garcia, but it is what it is. We're on to UFC Paris, and we both have a couple bets. Well, I have 2 bets. You did have 2 bets. Now you have 1, but we are on the same bet, and I'm looking forward to talking about that later in the show.
Absolutely, man. You know, I mean, I really like the main card on this from a fan perspective and from a betting perspective. I think there are some spots that are sticking out. I'm looking forward to talking them through with you, but it's going to be a fun card. Do we know when this one starts, though? Because we are in Paris for this one. And as always, Brady, you always want to know who's traveling to fight. You know, like Rolando Bedoya was like minus 330, but that dude was 12 time zones away from home in his second UFC fight coming off a loss. So, you know, there are things that, but then again, Billy Goff was 12 hours from home, and so was Garrett Armfield. And they went out there and absolutely smoked their opponents. So, you know, but it's something we need to be aware of, especially when we're laying juice. Don't lay minus 300 on the guy that's 12 time zones from home. You know, Armfield was like minus 170, you know, and Goff was plus money.
Yeah, it starts at 12 in the afternoon Eastern time.
Oh, that's not bad at all. Beautiful. Yep.
Not bad. I actually think that's perfect. You know, get to sleep in a little bit and then enjoy the fights, and the fights are over early. So yeah, I like that a lot better than waking up at 5 o'clock in the morning. That was kind of rough, but laying kind of got me through it there.
Yeah, dude, I saw that great tweet where you threw the wig down and then stomped on it. You looked heartbroken when you did that, but that one made me laugh, dude. That one really made me laugh.
I would have been even more heartbroken if JJ won like a decision and my under 2.5 didn't cash.
Yeah, that's for sure, man. I would not have liked that either. That was another fun, dude. I don't care how many times Nao Yang loses. I want her in the UFC. Zach Bocamp said it in the chat, you know, sign Daniel Da Silva and Na Liang to 8-fight deals. I mean, like, why not? Who cares if they lose? They're always putting on fun fights, back and forth fights, high energy fights that finish. And, you know, Daniel Da Silva's been close to finishing almost everybody that he's been in there. He lands big shots. He had CJ Vergara running laps around the octagon. You know, these are fun fighters, and I like cashing under bets on them. So let's keep them in the UFC. If we have to start a petition, that's what we do here.
We might have to, Weezy. I mean, we can cut fighters like Mandy Bum, but we gotta keep laying on there, because at least laying now is exciting, whereas Mandy Bum is not exciting at all. So, but yeah, I do want to shout out the chat before we get started. Mr. Glista, first one in here back at 4:11. So a couple hours ago. So shout out to you. We got Bulu in the chat, Olajuwon Dream. We have Fred Hurst. We got Sean V. We got Chris in the chat, Rob Lawrence, TH. We have Johnny Scrambles, Pink Frood. We have Propaholic in the building, GMC, Cole Stein. We have Marcel, Senior Brown in the chat. We got Sigma. We have Mushroom. What is up, Mushroom? Bananas and Grapes. Cardo, MMA. We got Snerius. We have Rem Dog. We got Andrew, Marcus Williams. We got Zach in here. We got Bub Collins. What is up, everybody? I do want to shout out the Pub Sports contest as well. Been talking about it each show as of late. But yeah, $100 to the winner last week was Vitek plus 815 points there. I forgot to put in my entry with the whole waking up early thing. So I was not able to compete. And if I did compete, I would have not gotten first. So, but yeah, shout out to Vitek getting first place there. Oh, and Donnie, it was a 2-way tie there. Weezy, were you able to get your entry in time or
no? I had COVID all week and then didn't wake up until the main card. I even set my alarm for 4 a.m. and I'm like, what are you doing, dude? You're sick. Get some sleep, you know? So I wound up waking up in time for the Giga fight. So I had 0 points and I did not have my picks in last week. And I also, Brady, would not have won.
Yeah, I feel it. And then we got Clint down there. Clint, it looks like he has a couple units on Benoît Saint-Denis. So we'll talk about that fight. And Alexa Grasso, which I think that fight's next week, if I'm not mistaken. That what's it called? I forget what they're calling it, but she fights next week nonetheless. All right, Weezy, I say we get into it, and we're going to start with the first fight on the card. We got Farid Basharat going against Kletzen Rodriguez. We got Basharat, 26 years old, 5'8" with a 71-inch reach. Kletzen Rodriguez, 27 years old, 5'6" with a 67-inch reach. We got Basharat 1 year younger. Basharat with a 2-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Basharat 5-0 in his last 5 fights. He had a contender series win by decision, made his debut against Damon Blackshear, won that by decision as well. Very good win. We all know by now that Damon Blackshear is very, very good. So love that win for Basharat there. As far as Kleitzer Rodriguez, he went out there and got a contender series decision win, looked phenomenal on the contender series. I was very, very excited for this guy coming into the UFC. And then he missed weight, I believe, back-to-back. Missed weight against CJ Vergara, lost that fight by decision. And then I know for a fact he missed weight against Shannon Ross and went out there and starched him in 60 seconds. So it looks like they're making Rodriguez move up to bantamweight. So moving up to bantamweight here, taking on Farid Basharat. Basharat is one of the biggest favorites on the card, and I think it's warranted. I think Basharat is really, really good. I think he's going to be able to get takedowns here. I think he's going to be able to get on top of Rodriguez. We saw Vergara hurt Rodriguez to the body, and then he was on top for like 4 minutes and 30 seconds of the second round. Yeah, I like Basharat here. Big favorite. Probably by decision, but I think Basharat gets it done. Solid parlay piece this week. Don't like this fight for Rodriguez, and I think like the UFC is like punishing him for just constantly missing weight. I mean, this is a rough matchup for him for his first fight at bantamweight.
I mean, and it's not like you can throw a dartboard and hit pretty much a killer every time in that bantamweight division. It's so stacked from top to bottom. And now poor Clayton, he was a weight bully at flyweight. Now he doesn't even get to do that anymore. Now, not only, is he not bigger than these guys, but, he's at a 2-inch height disadvantage, a 4-inch reach disadvantage. And he's fighting a guy in Basharat who's got more cage time than him. He's been a busier fighter. Basharat's a better minute winner wherever the fight goes. He's 4-0 in decisions in his career, while Clayton's 2-2. You look at Basharat's, distance striking accuracy. It's excellent, just like Clayton is. But then if you look at the defense, Clayton 52% distance striking defense, and it's 66 for Farid Basharat, and against a really big bantamweight in Damon Blackshear that we saw those numbers come up. So, I like Basharat's defense better. I like his ability to be able to win minutes with his wrestling better. He's the natural bantamweight, while Rodriguez is up a weight class here. And we haven't seen anything from Rodriguez other than botched weight cuts recently. I mean, and like you said, the one time that CJ Vergara got on top of him, he was on top of him for the rest of the round. So I really didn't like seeing Clayton just willingly give up minutes off of his back. And that's going to be a problem if he's willing to do that against Farid Basharat, because Basharat seems like the kind of fighter that's going to take whatever you give him, because he's good everywhere. I mean, on the feet, he's switching stances a lot. He's really smooth with his striking. He mixes up his weapons well. He's got very good cardio. He mixes in that wrestling to win minutes whenever he doesn't feel like he likes how it's going on the feet. And, I just think he's going to be able to find whatever path he wants here against Clayton. And yeah, you got to worry about Clayton at this point. He's still only 27 years old. He should be getting better, but the problem is that he's not at his weight class anymore, where he was much bigger than everybody. Now he's going to be an average sized bantamweight, if that. So got to go with Farid here. And I'm looking to parlay him as well, dude. I love it whenever I got, a nice little defense advantage on the feet. And I also like it when I feel like you've got that wrestling advantage too. So I got to go with Farid.
Yep, think it could be a solid parlay piece for sure. He's currently sitting at -310. He did open up -185, went to -220, and yeah, money's just been pouring in on him. I think he'll be a popular parlay piece this week, and rightfully so. I don't really like Clayton's chances in this one. The over is like juice to like -185. I'm not gonna touch a total here, but I'm with you. Parlay piece, if anything, for me.
Yep, I feel the same way.
Yep, and Justy gave this Nakamura by Kimura at plus. It was like plus 5,000 or plus, I think 50,000. It was something crazy, and it almost hit. Like like a Nakamura went for like, it had to have been like 10 different submissions. It was ridiculous. I think Nakamura is very good, but would have liked to see him get a finish there.
Yeah, that was a fun fight. Fernie Garcia is super tough, man. That guy does not want to be finished. He's real gritty and gutty. And yeah, I was actually looking at the overs in that fight, but I just didn't. I mean, I couldn't do it.
Yeah, I think that was maybe the either first or second time Nakamura has ever been over. So yeah, Fernie's super tough though. I didn't think it would matter, but yeah, his toughness did matter there. All right, speaking of somebody tough, this Angelusa guy is very tough. Angelusa going against Reese McKee. We got Angelusa, 30 years old, 5'10" with a 74-inch reach. Reese McKee, 27 years old, 6'2" with a 78-inch reach. Reese McKee, 3 years younger. Reese McKee with a 4-inch height advantage and a 4-inch reach advantage. Angelusa, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss against Jack Della Maddalena. Made his debut on short notice against Munir Lazzez. Lost that fight by decision, and then beat AJ Fletcher by decision his last time out. As far as Reese McKee, he is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. Made his debut on short notice against Hamzat Chimaev. That guy's pretty good. He lost that fight by first round TKO, and then lost against Alex Morono by decision. He got cut. He went out there and won back-to-back fights, all by knockout. Reese McKee is very, very dangerous. This guy has 13 wins. All 13 of them come inside the distance. Angelusa is very tough. This guy, Angelusa, has 3 losses. None of them come inside the distance. So, yeah, I went and watched Reese McKee. He's actually a lot better than I remembered. I don't know why, but I remembered Reese McKee as being like a bum because of the Chimaev fight and the Morono fight. But I think he's pretty good. I love the volume that McKee brings to the table. He's very, very dangerous. What I don't like about him is his striking defense is horrendous. I mean, this guy eats punches with his face. Like Alex Morono was just tagging this guy up nonstop. So yeah, the striking defense is definitely a concern. But you can say the same thing about Angelusa. Angelusa, 49% striking defense on paper, and Reese McKee, a 43% striking defense. So both of these guys love to get hit in the face. I just think Angelusa has shown more toughness. With that said, though, Angelusa did get hurt bad in his last fight in the second round against AJ Fletcher, and the fight was very, very, very close to getting stopped. Like the ref was about to step in. So this is a fight where I could just see being an all-out war. I don't really see either guy taking this fight down to the mat. If somebody does, though, it will be Angelusa. Angelusa has shown somewhat of ability to get fights down to the mat, and Reese McKee can be taken down. We saw Chimaev take him down, obviously, which it is what it is, but Morono was able to take him down. Morono takes down nobody. So, yeah, I could see Angelusa, taking this fight down to the mat here or there, but I primarily think this is going to be an all-out war on the feet where both guys have no regards for any striking defense. I think this could be one of the best fights of the card, honestly. So really looking forward to this one. I thought initially that I would be, betting on Angelusa, maybe looking to fade Reese McKee. But like I said, going back, I think he's a lot better than I remember him being. And on top of that, he is only 27 years old. So the last time we did see him in the UFC, he was like 25. So I think he is a lot better than I thought. I think this fight could even be close, but I'm going to slightly lean with Angelusa for the durability advantage. This guy's next level durable. And also, I think he is going to be able to dictate where this fight takes place. Angelusa, incredible takedown defense. Reese McKee, horrible takedown defense. So give me an Angelusa, but I don't think I'm betting a money line here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, I mean, I think you broke it down perfectly, but I would be just a little bit careful about laying juice on Angelusa here. I mean, he's older, he's shorter, he's got a 4-inch reach disadvantage. McKee is more experienced. He's been busier as a pro. McKee's the better finisher. McKee throws a ton of volume on the feet. He's switching stances. If I thought that Angelusa wasn't going to wrestle here, I'd be betting Reese McKee, because I said the exact same thing. I was like, dude, I got to watch these last 3 fights by McKee and see what happened since he left the UFC, because what the scouting report on this guy could be is, yeah, he came into the UFC and he fought Hamzat Chimaev and Alex Morono back to back. What the fuck do you think is going to happen? You think you're going 2-0? No, you're definitely going 0-2, right? So that's what happened, and then he got cut. But then, he beats Alexei Montekivi by knockout. He has a war with Justin Burlinson and just marches Burlinson down the entire time, busts this dude's face up, and then makes him quit in the third. And then Judo Jim Wallhead, who's just a veteran of veterans, like almost 50 professional fights on this dude. Reese McKee's just in his face, fucking him up until the doctor stops it at the end of the 4th round. And, I didn't realize it because, you know, he came in against Khamzat, and we all knew that Khamzat was going to murder him. And like, oh, look at the sacrificial lamb they're feeding to Khamzat, and then they feed the kid to Morono next, you know, which didn't make a lot of sense either. But this kid's good. He throws a lot of volume. He walks forward. He switches stances. He's pretty durable too. And he's just the kind of guy that he doesn't mind being in a war at all. And he will keep marching you down, and he will keep landing big shots. And Angalusa's striking is not special. It's not. Go watch the Munir Lazzez fight. He got absolutely schooled there. And I know it was on short notice, and I know Munir Lazzez is an excellent kickboxer, but this guy loses, you know, he's got to wrestle here in order to look where the line has him right now, priced at. If he doesn't do that, I think that this is going to be a very close fight, and I would actually probably favor McKee. But the thing is, when you watch that tape on McKee, when guys are going for takedowns, man, they're getting them, and then they're staying there. They're winning minutes there. So I think that there's a wide open path for Angalusa to win this fight by using his wrestling, by winning minutes with the grappling and top control and ground and pound. But if he doesn't do that, Reese McKee's going to be very live in this spot.
Yeah, and I think he can. I mean, a gust of wind could take this Reese McKee guy down. So I think he'll be able to go out there and get takedowns. What's interesting is the total for me. The over is completely juiced to -190. And this is one where I think it could go over, but I think it could be like one of the sweatiest overs of your life just because both guys like don't have any striking defense to speak of whatsoever. Both guys want to throw down. Both guys are going to, like, these guys are going to hit each other in the face like 120 times each. So I don't know. -190 seems like a lot. That kind of surprising. I know both guys are durable, but we've seen McKee get knocked out. We saw Angalusa like a split second away from getting knocked out against AJ Fletcher his last time. Any thoughts on the total? And then also the money line is currently sitting. We have Angalusa -180, and then we have Reese McKee +155.
So I don't really know in terms of the money line what I would do, because like I say, I could see this fight going a couple of different ways, but what I was just looking at, and it's trying to make me log in, of course, was Prize Picks. I want to look at Prize Picks and see where the over under is. And why the hell am I not already logged in, you pricks? Come on, there it is. All right, finally, dude. I want to see what the over-under for significant strikes is, if they have it out yet, because these guys are going to punch each other in the face. Oh, it's really high. It's 72 and a half. It's 72 and a half. That's a really big number, but god damn, now I hate this from a betting perspective, because I don't want to lay the juice on Angalusa and then throw my remote through the television when he doesn't wrestle. Maybe a finish only prop on Angalusa at better than -225 or so, because
Yeah,
I think you could hit this dude in the face with a shovel and he'd keep coming.
the only thing that scares me about that is just the finish rate of Reese McKee.
100%. 100% finish rate for Reese McKee.
So I don't,
man, but a lot of those are late. They are late finishes. They're
like
attritional finishes. They're third round finishes, and like, yeah, you'd need about 9 rounds to finish this guy Lusa. You know, I mean, he's a real tough dude. I mean, like the fact that Jack Della Maddalena went 3 rounds with this guy, and that Angalusa had him in that nasty deep arm triangle choke too. Man, he could have won that fight. So, yeah, this is a really fun fight. This is a big time sleeper for fight of the night because of Reese McKee and Angalusa's style. And I think it's going to be a high volume striking war for the most part. But at 72 and a half significant strikes, I actually think I'd take the under, because Angalusa should wrestle if he wants to win this fight.
Yeah, and if he does wrestle, I mean, the under is going to hit here. Yeah, I don't have it strongly one way or another on it, but yeah, really good fun fight nonetheless. We got Tony with the $10 dono. He's saying, "What's up, Brady and Weezy? Let's see if Gane can drive a stake through the vampire." Also, it seems Manon and Fiorot should be favored by far more against Rose. Yeah, I mean, I was telling Weezy the same thing. I think if it wasn't Rose, you know, the fan favorite, everybody knows her, I think Fiorot would be much bigger favorite.
Yeah, yeah, and I mean, I think people are not realizing that Rose is moving up a weight class here to fight a much bigger woman, and a woman that's going to be almost impossible to close distance against. I mean, Caitlin Chukagian, who's a huge, huge flyweight, could not close distance, effectively against Manon Fiorot, and she lost 2 out of the 3 rounds in that fight. And Rose is just not even close to being the same size as Caitlin. So, yeah, I do like Manon quite a bit here, and you never know, man. With the professional wrestling vibe that's kind of going into the UFC lately, I could see like Gane's manager throwing like a wooden stake and a hammer into the cage, while while the referee gets knocked out like it's a professional wrestling match.
I can just imagine Gane bringing a freaking steak in.
He's got the steak and hammer. He's got the steak and hammer, and the referee is passed out. It's Keith Peterson. He just got out of rehab, and he's relapsed, And then you just see Gane just like driving that steak in. That
Yeah, I mean, I think Gane's gonna need a steak, some garlic, or maybe if they turn up the lighting in there. Do you know if it's like an outdoor arena in France, or is it indoors?
It is not. It is not. I don't think Spivak's people would have taken the fight if it was outdoors. What if the sun comes up?
Oh, then he's definitely done. But yeah, appreciate you, Tony, for the dono. All right, Weezy, let's move on. We have Nora Cornhole going against Jocelyn Edwards. We have Cornhole, 34 years old, 5'7". Jocelyn Edwards, 27 years old, 5'8", with a 70-inch reach. We have Edwards, who is 7 years younger, 1-inch height advantage, and I don't know the reach advantage there. So Cornhole, she is 5-0 in her last 5 fights, beating bums. Jocelyn Edwards, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. The decision loss against Carol Hoza, decision loss against Jessica Rose Clark, decision win against Ramona Pasquale, decision win against Jiyeon Kim, and then a decision win against Lucy Pudilova in a fight she clearly lost. So, yeah, I went and taped Cornhole, and it's one of those things, Weezy, where she looks really good. She looks very dangerous. She's able to get on top and finish these fighters. And then you go look at who she's fighting. It's just complete bums, like nobody good whatsoever. Jocelyn Edwards has fought the much better competition by a mile. It's not even close. And that's crazy to say, because look at who Jocelyn Edwards is facing. Pudilova, Kim, Pasquale, Clark, fighters like that, but she's still fighting the much, much, much better level of competition. I'm not sure why Cornhole is on this card other than she's from France. I feel like the UFC this week are just like forcing these fighters from France on this card. Like some of these matchups, Cornhole's 34 years old. I don't think she really belongs in the UFC. Maybe she does. Maybe she's really good. It's just she's not fought anybody to prove that. So by default, I'm going to take Jocelyn Edwards, who's actually fought a real opponent. But, stylistically, this is a matchup that, Jocelyn Edwards has struggled with in the past. Jessica Rose Clark took her down multiple times. Carol Hoza took him down multiple times. I'm just not sure Cornhole is going to be able to take her down. And if not, I like the striking of Edwards. So it's a close line fight. This is 1-800 gambler for me. I'm not touching this fight. But Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I mean, Cornhole looks kind of small, to me for the weight class. And Jocelyn Edwards is a big girl. She's long for the weight class. So I think that there could potentially be a problem for Cornhole closing distance here on Edwards. And if that's the case, if she's not closing the distance, and if you're not taking down Jocelyn Edwards, I mean, if you look at those grappling stats, under the control time stats for Jocelyn Edwards, look at all that red, Brady. It's just glowing red, like the blood that a vampire takes from your neck, right? 39.48% control time allowed on 13 takedowns that she's allowed in only 6 fights. So even though she's stuffed 24 takedowns and she's getting taken down 2.17 times for 50 minutes, which, I mean, it's not a ton, but she's giving up almost 40% control time to her opponents. But then if you look at, she's been in the cage for 90 minutes in the UFC. 48 minutes of that has been at distance striking range. And look what she's doing at distance striking range against some decent fighters. Carol Hoza, Jessica Rose Clark, Lucy Pudilova. I mean, Jiyeon Kim, Ramona Pasquale, kind of terrible, right? But still, Edwards is landing 8.6 distance strikes per minute spent at distance while only absorbing 4.62. She's throwing a ton of volume, 17 significant strike attempts per minute. That's 3.8 more than the divisional average. So she's busy. She's accurate. She's never been dropped in the UFC. 57% distance striking defense isn't phenomenal, but this cornhole is kind of small. So I think cornhole is going to have to pressure here, Brady. And I think she's going to have to try to work in some wrestling. But from what I saw on tape, like she's not this, that's not really what she does. She does tend to look for powerful strikes in the pocket. She looks to get inside, get in the pocket, and throw big bombs. And there's just not, like you say, who the hell is Juliet Chukwu? Who the hell is Asma Abash? Priscilla de Sosa, Sanam Mandar, Hasna Gaber, Hasna Gaber just gave up halfway through the first round because she said her knee hurt. I don't know, man. I kind of feel like this Edwards line's a little bit of a gift, and Edwards is really good on the feet. Those numbers that she's putting up on the feet are very good striking numbers, excellent minute winning numbers. Where she's losing the minutes is in the grappling. So I think that this could be a win for Edwards if cornhole is A, unable to close the distance, and B, unable to wrestle here. So I guess we're going to find out. But cornhole is 34 years old, and her mixed martial arts career has only lasted for 2 years. And this is her UFC debut, and she's never been to a decision that's where she's won in her career. She has a 100% finish rate. And Jocelyn Edwards is a very durable girl who's never even been finished in the UFC. I think I like Jocelyn Edwards here.
Yeah, I think I like her as far as a pick. But I don't know if I can put money on this fight. But yeah, Jocelyn Edwards is a favorite, -130. Cornhole is plus 110. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of surprised at the line, to be honest, just because cornhole is not really, proven anything. But I think it's more so people maybe trying to fade Jocelyn Edwards. I'm not sure, but yeah, I guess somebody in the chat said Edwards probably should be a bigger favorite, probably, but I don't know if I want to lay my money on her.
Yeah, Jocelyn's 4-2 in the UFC, but you look at the girls that she's beating, they have a combined record of 7 wins and 21 losses. So they're not like these, they're not impressive wins at the UFC level. So Nora Cornhole would probably fit into those kind of wins that she's getting at this level. But yeah, with Cornhole, you got somebody that's a lot less experienced. She's going to be smaller. And she's fought the much worse brand of competition. And, I think she might even be at a striking disadvantage if she can't close the distance here. And then the jokes just write themselves. If you're betting on her and then the Nora Cornhole bet doesn't come through, you get cornholed, and, when things set up that way in advance, maybe just best to avoid that cornhole side, but she is at home, she will have the crowd behind her. It's an interesting fight, but I'm leaning Edwards.
Yeah, it is definitely a fight that will be happening. That's for sure. And by the way, what is Dunkin's problem? Dunkin' Donuts. I asked for light ice because they've been going crazy with the ice lately. Weezy. Ask for light ice, and they do this. I mean, is that light ice?
No, that's a ton of ice, and yeah, I mean, but that's what they do, dude. The ice is almost free as a former restaurateur growing up in a restaurant. So you dump that in there, so you have to put less of what their people are actually paying for in there. It's a big corporate way to profit from people and to give you less of what you want. So congratulations to the corporate structures that have ruined this great country that we live in, Brady.
I mean, yeah, it's no. I took 3 sips and it's gone. So yeah, thank you, Dunkin' Donuts, for that. Unbelievable. But yeah, we can move on, Weezy, to the next fight, and we have Zara Farn going against Jacqueline Cavalcanti. What is it, Cavalcanti? Cavalcanti. We have Farn 30. She's 39 years old, for real.
Yeah, she's 39, man, and she's only got 11 fights in a 10-year pro career. She fights once in a blue moon, but my God, is it worth waiting for, right, Brady?
No. No. Anyhow, fair. She's 39. Wow, that's wild. 5'8" with a 72-inch reach. Cavalcanti, she is 25 years old, 5'9" with a 72-inch reach. Cavalcanti, 1 inch taller and much younger, 14 years. So Farron, she is 2-3 in her last 5 fights. Made her debut against Megan Anderson, got subbed. Yes, you're reading that right. And then she got knocked out by Felicia Spencer. I feel like those should be like flipped. I feel like Megan Anderson should have knocked her out and Spencer should have subbed her, but Spencer TKO'd her. And then she lost to Joseph Benavidez. No shame in that. And then Jacqueline Cavalcanti, she is 4-1 in her last 5 fights. So yeah, you were telling me yesterday, you were like, why is Cavalcanti minus 400? And I'm like, she's probably a grappler because that's what Farron really struggles with. I went and watched every fight of Cavalcanti. She's not really a grappler. She's a striker. I've seen her, get a takedown in one of her fights and she finished it shortly after. But, she's primarily a striker. I think the reason Cavalcanti is such a big favorite, because she's a massive favorite, is because, and I think it's simple as this: one of these fighters is good and one of these fighters is bad. And I think the bad fighter is Zarah Fairn. Cavalcanti is training with some really good fighters. She's training with fighters like Tabitha Ricci, Sabina Mazo, Pierre Rodriguez. She's training at that gym. I think that's Dern's old gym. I'm not sure if Dern's still there. So, maybe Cavalcanti does come in here and grapple. She's training with some very, very good grapplers. And if she does get this fight down to the mat, and we've seen Farron's ground game just look atrocious. Anderson subbed her easy in the first round. Spencer, TKO'd her easy in the first round. I mean, what is Zarah Fairn doing here? She's on a 3-fight skid. She's 40 years old. She's 6-5. I mean, she could potentially be the worst fighter on the roster. So do you want to lay minus 400 on Cavalcanti? No, but I think she does win this fight. And I think she probably even finishes Fairn, especially if she gets on top. So give me Cavalcanti, but you won't catch me laying the ridiculous price tag. She is the biggest favorite on the card as far as, the biggest favorite on the card here, Cavalcanti.
Yeah, and Zarah, I mean, it's really hard ever, to pick against the 13 years younger fighter, especially when one of them is 39. It's not like, Cavalcanti is 18 and Fairn is 31 here, like where you got one in their prime, one just starting out their career. It's really the other way around. But Cavalcanti still 6 fights as a professional in a 5-year career. So she hasn't been very active. She's a good striker though. She switches stances on the feet. She kind of reminds me of Gabriela Fernandez. She's big, she's long. And even though she's kind of lean, she's got an ass on her, I mean, like she's got some power in those legs and she can maintain distance well. She can switch stances. She's got some really nice power. In the Melissa Croden fight, she dropped Croden 4 times in like 6 seconds in a 6-second stretch, where I thought that the fight was going to get stopped, but that fight I actually wound up going all 5 rounds. But Jacqueline's going to probably just stay at distance here and strike with this girl. But what my worry is that, this is going to be one of the first times that she's been fighting somebody her own size. Croden was a very big woman, but like if you watch the Yulia Konsenko fight, that girl's a midget, like Cavalcanti looked like 2 of her. So I'm still kind of waiting to see how she's going to perform against, I guess, what we would call higher level competition with Farron, is that she's at least had 3 UFC fights, and she fought Joe Benavidez the last time out and actually had a pretty good performance, Zarah Fairn, in my opinion, especially at the number that she was priced at there. You probably could have got Zarah around like 250, 275 on the money line. She almost won that fight, I thought. I thought it was
there's something important we're missing.
What's that?
This fight's probably not even happening. This fight's at bantamweight, and Zarah Fairn's missed the weight at a catch weight of 140. Remember, she was supposed to fight Joseph Benavidez back in 2021. It was a catch weight of 140, and she weighed in at 147. I think this is like the first time she's going to be trying to cut down to bantamweight, and Well, there's another time where she missed weight. There was another time she
Yeah.
missed weight. It was a catch weight of 141 back in 2017. She weighed in at 147. So at 39 years old, she's cutting down to bantamweight.
Yeah, because they're basically doing away with that 145-pound weight class. So, Zara's going to have to get her shit together and try to make this cut, but I don't think it'll happen. She's missed weight so many times, and she fights so infrequently, but it's a Paris card, so they're like, if we don't use this girl now, we can't cut her. So they're going to cut her after this fight, but hopefully she'll get close enough on the weight, and maybe they'll move it to a 140-pound catch weight when inevitably she tells the brass that I'm not going to make it.
She's gonna need to cut off an arm to make 135. I don't see that happening at all. And like I said, even if they move it to catchweight, she's missed weight at catchweights multiple times. So I mean, I don't think this fight might not even happen. And by the way, like I said, like what is the UFC? Like they're really forcing France fighter. Like Zara Farron, really? Come on.
You would think that there'd be somebody else on the roster that they could, give that spot to, and it may not be a French fighter, but like Europe surrounds them, and there's a lot of good fighters from the UK, from Poland, from Spain, from Russia, anywhere. You could, so many countries around there. Find somebody from Belgium, for the love of Jah.
Yeah. She's 30. Yeah, some websites do say 36, some say 39. I think UFC though says 39, right?
UFC stats says 39, and in order to get paid, Brady, you actually have to give them a real birth certificate. Otherwise your alias is getting paid, and you don't have a bank account in the name of your alias. So there's a lot of fighters that are lying about their ages, and some are actually older than what they say they are, and some are actually younger than what they say they are, because some of these dudes that grew up in the favelas wanted to start taking pro fights at the age of 15, and they did. So they said that they were 18 or 19, and now that they're 28, they're actually 24, So I mean, it could go either way, but yeah, she's 39 because that's the documents that they got to be able to legally pay her, the UFC, so they know what her real birthday is.
Yeah, and I do want to answer this as well. So Jesse is missing the Benavidez joke. Well, if you want to explain it while I pull up some pictures, Weezy.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's just that the Josiane Nunez there and Joe Benavidez. I mean, I'm just saying that, look, until somebody shows me a picture of those two in the same room at the same time, I'm going to have my own opinion on it. All right. And yeah, I mean, they call her Josiane Nunez. She's fighting at 145 and she's got sick power in her hands. But, Joe Benavidez, we haven't seen him in the cage lately. Or have we, Brady? Or have we, huh? So I'm just saying, like, I'm not a conspiracy theorist or anything like that. I'm just, I want answers. I want proof. And then I'll shut up.
Yep, for sure. Dirty Reg is liking this action because it's something that you got to talk about. I mean, Josiane Nunez is indeed Joseph Benavidez, and like you said, we have not seen them both in the same room, and I don't think we ever will.
I don't think we ever will, man. I just, I mean, look, good luck to Josiane Nunez. Good luck to Joe Benavidez in the second iteration of your career. I wish you nothing but the best. Brady, it's always tough when you're a professional athlete to hang them up and say it's over for good. And if Joseph Benavidez wanted to create this second iteration in his career, I mean, I can't blame him. Maybe he doesn't feel like he has anything left to do after fighting. I mean,
Exactly. What fight were we talking about? We were talking about the
we were talking about the fight that wasn't going to happen between the French superstar Zara Farron dos Santos and
who we don't know who's a liar. She's a liar and she's not really good at fighting. So just a bad combination there. Usually if you lie, you're somewhat good at fighting. Like Gregory Rodriguez, he's a liar. Like Gregory Rodriguez is actually 53, says he's 30, but he's pretty good at fighting. So we have another liar on the card. And I think this liar is probably going to get handled accordingly. Any interest in Cavalcanti at minus 400, Weezy?
No, not going to do it, man. Not going to do it. Actually, Zara Farron looked okay in her last fight. I mean, she was much bigger than Benavidez, but still, she looked okay. And I thought she could have won that fight as a massive underdog. So if she comes in similarly motivated and the striking looks decent and she doesn't get taken down, she might look again like a good bet that may or may not cash.
Yeah.
I'm
So
staying
maybe,
away, dude.
yeah, I mean, there's no reason to bet this fight.
Yeah.
And there's also no reason to bet this fight, a Lapilus Gafrov, because it is off. So we will not be talking about that one. But we can move on to Morgan Charriere going against Manolo Zecchini. We have Charriere, who is 27 years old, 5'7". Zecchini, he is 26 years old, 5'8". We have Zecchini 1 year younger, 1 inch height advantage. Look at all those stats we have, Weezy. I mean, these stats are loaded. We have the striking stats, the grappling stat. I mean, every stat you can think of, and it's all here. No, I mean, these guys both making their debut here. Not much to really go off of. Yeah, Charriere's pretty big favorite. I was impressed with Charriere. This guy is very well rounded. I like the striking. I like the
errors
wrestling.
all. Okay.
What do you say?
My screen just completely refreshed and I saw nothing but spinning circles. I was like, oh dear God, no. But and I think, yeah, that is not a mistake, you guys. We don't have any stats on Charriere or Zecchini at the UFC level.
Yeah, we can still talk about it. I was able to tape Sherry. I was pretty impressed. You know, this guy's well-rounded. I like the wrestling. I love the ground and pound. Like, there was this one fight I watched where he just destroyed this guy, landed nasty elbows, ended up getting him out of there. His grappling, solid, good back takes. Yeah, I think Sherry is pretty good, especially for a guy with 9 losses. I think he's a lot better than his 9 losses do indicate. Zecchini, this guy is very dangerous. This guy's a finisher, has a lot of power, but I have seen him taken down. I have seen him stuck on his back. I have seen him get his back taken. So I think Charriere does have a clear path to victory here, and that's going to be getting this fight down to the mat. And if he is able to get on top, this Charriere guy's pretty good. So, yeah, massive favorite here. I think minus 300 for Charriere. I like him to win. I like him to even potentially finish this fight on top, but not sure if I'm going to, go out there and lay minus 300 on a newcomer. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this fight?
Yeah, there was something when I was looking through Charriere's experience that caught my eye, and that's his last 4 losses, right? Paul Hughes in a 5-round fight, majority decision loss. Jordan the Epidemic Vucenic in a 5-round loss, split decision loss. Soren Bach, who's a stud in Cage Warriors, that was a 5-round loss. Majority decision. Ruslan Kazmurzaev, majority decision. The last time this guy even lost a unanimous decision, it was back in 2017 to Saladin Parnas, who's a stud and will probably be in the UFC soon himself. And I'm kind of surprised that Saladin Parnas isn't on this card because he's a favorite of the French fans as well. So 18-1 Saladin Parnas is not in the UFC, but some of these guys that we're seeing like Charriere, like Zara Farron, they are on the card. So yeah, look, this guy Charriere is good, man. He's very good everywhere. On the feet, he throws with power. When he lands those overhand rights and lefts, people go down. Like you said, he's got really good ground and pound. There's a nasty clip of him tearing up William Gomis's that we'll be talking about later. His knee with the heel hook. He's got good wins, and the guys that he's losing to on the regional scene, they're very, very close fights, razor close decisions, split or majority decisions, and they're in 5-round fights. So this guy Charriere, he's ready. He's ready now. 28 professional fights for this guy. He's got 240 more minutes in the pro cage in comparison to Zecchini. I think Zecchini's listed as 1 inch taller, but I kind of feel like Charriere is going to be the bigger, stronger guy here. And Zecchini, he's finally fighting at the right weight class. He was messing around at lightweight for a while. Now he's moved down to featherweight, and his last 2 wins in Venator FC, which is a Italian promotion, are at featherweight. The wins that you see there against Kamsath and Tunkara. But the loss before that to Karo Matulo, a Tajikistani guy, by unanimous decision, he was just much smaller than him, and that guy just wrestled him. So a lot of the footage that we see of Zecchini getting manhandled in the grappling, is up a weight class at lightweight. This fight's going to be at featherweight. But all that being said, this guy Charriere is well tested on the regional scene. He's well rounded. He's got a pretty good finish rate too, about 73% in his 18 wins. And he's only been finished in one of his 9 losses, Brady. So this guy's the real deal. He's durable. He's well-rounded. He's experienced. He's got power, and he's got really good submissions and really good ground and pound. And from what I saw in Zecchini, there's just no wins to hang your hat on. You know, I mean, like, I don't know any of these guys that he's beating. It doesn't really mean much to me. So the Venetian Angel, Manolo Zecchini, is probably being brought in to lose to the last pirate, Morgan Charriere. So I'm looking for Charriere to get this win and to potentially even get a finish, as we've seen Zecchini finished in 2 of 3 losses.
Yep, I think a finish is very much on the table. They did set the total at 1.5 though, which I don't like at all. The over 1.5 is like -225 though. The under 1.5 is +185. So maybe I'll look at a 2.5. But yeah, I think a finish could be on the table here for Charriere. He can finish the fight wherever, like on the feet, he has power. On the mat, he has power submission game. So yeah, I think he has a lot of ways to finish this fight. And if Zecchini wins it, I don't know if it's a finish, but he is very, very dangerous himself. So maybe an under, but I don't like the 1.5.
Zecchini landed a nasty knee. I forget whether I think it was the Tunkara fight where like they kind of got into a scramble, and as soon as the dude stood up, he just caught him with that knee. It was brutal, dude. It was brutal. And you see Zecchini, like he's a scrapper, so he's always swinging heavy, and sometimes he gets like caught in these little scrambles where he just goes for it. And when he lands, dude, he lands big and he hurts people. So this should be a really fun fight. This guy, Zecchini's a decent prospect, but I just think we got a lot more to learn about him than compared to the 28 fights, the 300 minutes of cage time. And then you look at Charriere's resume. He's been in there with real fighters. And even the guys that we know that beat him, they barely beat him. And it's debatable at the end of the day who won the fight. So yeah, going with Charriere here with a decent amount of confidence. But the line's wide, Brady.
Yeah, mine is 290. 290 it is right now.
Yeah, that's wide. That's almost a 75% implied probability. Not a lot of room for error there, especially when you got 2 debutantes.
Apparently there's a cooking with Weezy segment where you're talking about Zecchini.
Yeah, I hate zucchini, by the way. Yeah. It's one of the worst foods that there is on the planet. It's flavorless. It's soft and mushy. And I mean, I'm not a big fan of squash anyway, but I want to make it very clear how little I like zucchini and how worthless it is as a food to me.
Yeah, so that's just another reason to like Charriere as well. So we're talking about zucchini, we're talking about cornhole. I mean, we're talking about it all on this card.
Dude, you know, that's why you don't ever miss out on Pub Sports Radio, what they have to offer you. I mean, we are bringing the fire every single day, every single week, 24/7, 365 people. Be there.
1000%. But we have more stats to talk about here. We have.
Well, actually, we don't.
We don't. Yanis, Ghemmouri. What is it?
Ghemmouri.
Ghemmouri going against Caolan Loughran. We have Ghemmouri, who is 28 years old, 5'9". Loughran, 49 years old.
What the hell, dude? That's my age. Yeah. So I'll have to put the birthday. Yeah. See, it says January 1st, 1974. That's my birthday.
You put your birthday in there? Why?
Well, because that's what the naked template of my spreadsheet is. It has my birthday for birthday. And, I always know that I'll find that mistake because if God forbid any UFC fighter that's as old as me, they're not winning their fight. So that's how I know that there's a mistake there.
So they don't have they don't have an age listed, not on Tapology.
No wonder it's not in there. All right. Yeah.
So I guess it's a mystery, in terms of this guy's age.
Yeah, that's wild, dude. Well, he's gonna have to give him some kind of tax information in order to get paid. So we should find this dude's birthday sometime soon.
Yeah, it's not on SureDog either. So I guess we're gonna find out maybe later in the week. But Weezy, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Okay, so Loughran, got to watch the tape on this guy. He's a very compact bantamweight. He's bricked up with muscle. When he's on the feet, he's pressuring. He's throwing big overhands. He's got decent, pretty clean striking. But where Caolan Loughran does his best work is with the wrestling, Brady, and then he gets to dudes' backs, and he will hunt for rear naked chokes. He will land ground and pound. He will get to your back, put in that body triangle, and then stay there for the rest of the round. The kid's got he's the Cage Warriors champion. He won that belt, I think, again, or it was against Dylan Hazan for the vacant belt. Beat Luke Shanks by second round ground and pound. Beat Festus Ahorlu 5-0. So he's got 4 wins in Cage Warriors. And then prior to that, the 4 wins that he had, he was kind of fighting tomato cans, 0-0, 3-5. And then he has wins over 2 of the British versions of Jay Ellis. You got Will Cairns, 0-39, and Reese Street, 0-31. So he kind of got started against some bums, but Caolan also had an amateur career where he was 8-2. But Caolan's really good when he gets those takedowns at winning a bunch of minutes and then sometimes winning moments with that ground and pound. Very active on the ground. Now, Yanis Ghemmouri is a guy who trains with Fares Ziam. So he's the desert warrior. He's of North African descent and lives in France, and he trains with a lot of those killers over there at the factory. So Fares Ziam, one of his training partners, kid's got really slick striking, good jab, good kicks, good distance management. He's very fast. And if he can keep this fight standing, I think Yanis Ghemmouri is actually going to be the much better striker, the much cleaner striker, the much busier striker. But with Loughran, what you're going to have to worry about is the pressure, the big overhands that set up the entries to the takedowns. And this kid's wrestling is good. And once he gets you down, he's working to get to your back, and he almost always finds it, Brady. So I see why Loughran here is a big favorite. But I also know that if he doesn't get this to the ground, Ghemmouri's going to be taller, he's going to be longer, he's going to be faster, and he's going to be the better technical striker, in my opinion. And I think he's also going to be a lot busier than Caolan Loughran is. So striker versus grappler matchup is the most basic way to break this fight down. I'm leaning Loughran, though, because I just like everything that I've seen from this kid on the ground. And he doesn't fuck around. He's not going to sit there and play Ghemmouri's game, because Ghemmouri is a very good striker. You do see Ghemmouri mixing in the wrestling, though, and you do see him winning some minutes with it, particularly in the Nowitzki fight. We saw Nowitzki kind of being winning some minutes at distance striking range against Ghemmouri, and Nowitzki definitely won the first round of that fight, but then Ghemmouri winds up getting takedowns in the second and the third round in order to win those last 2 rounds and get that split decision victory. Yeah, I do like Loughran here, but, Cage Warriors champion making their debut, minus 300 favorite. It's a little bit risky here, but both of these guys are decent prospects. But we got to find out what the reach is of Loughran, what the birthday is. We don't even know who's younger or older here. But we do know that Ghemmouri's been at this a lot longer. He's got about 60 more minutes in the cage and about 6 more years as a professional fighter compared to Caolan Loughran.
Yeah, Loughran is a big favorite, like you said, minus 305, and then Ghemmouri is plus 255. They have another 1.5 here. The over 1.5 is minus 220. The under 1.5 is plus 180. Any thoughts on the total?
Well, Yanis has been submitted in his only loss. But I think that was a long time ago, and I don't remember who that was against. Here, let me look at that. Let me see how long ago that one was for Ghemmouri. Back in 2015 to Steve Polifante. So I don't think we can really learn much about that submission. And, you know, he's been out there in UAE Warriors and Brave fighting some decent level competition. Yeah, I think it probably goes over, but, you know, both of these guys are making their debut, and you got a really wide line. So it's the kind of thing that usually gets me to stay away. And I didn't see anything on tape that led me to believe one way or another, over, under. Don't really have a lean on it.
Can you put the over 1.5 in a parlay? I mean, you could if you want.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I don't know.
I mean, like you can, but I wouldn't recommend doing it. But it's like you can parlay it, is what I think he is asking.
Yeah, you want some more information about both of these guys right now, you know, especially at the UFC level, you know, to fully formulate your opinion on whether they're really like finishers or not. But both of these guys will swing, and both of these guys can win some moments. That's for sure.
Is this the first stat diggers where we have 2 fighters without any stats?
Yeah, dude, it's happened before, I'm sure. I can remember. Didn't Kai Kamaka versus Tony Kelly, weren't they both debutantes? I know that's a long time ago.
I don't remember. Who knows?
Yeah, we've had 2 fights already. You know,
Yeah.
the Charriere Zecchini fight had no actual stats either. But hey, as a matter of fact, Loughran like is just not even giving us a birthday, not giving us a height, not giving us a stance, not giving us a reach. You know, I don't even. And he says 5'6". I don't know, man.
We can't trust this guy, I don't think.
He's kind of short, dude.
Another liar.
Could be.
Another liar. Sick of these liars in the UFC. But yeah. All right. We'll move on. Then I think we have stats for the rest of the card, though. So
we do.
There is one guy we don't have stats on, but we'll talk about it. All right. So we got William Gomis going against Lucas Almeida. We got Gomis, 26 years old, 6 foot with a 73-inch reach. We got Lucas Almeida, 32 years old, 5'11" with a 71-inch reach. We got Gomis, who is 6 years younger. Gomis with a 1-inch height advantage and a 2-inch reach advantage. Gomis is 5-0 in his last 5 fights, made his debut against Jarno Aarons, won that fight by decision, and then beat Francis Marshall by decision as well. Lucas Almeida, this guy is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision loss on the Contender Series against Daniel Zellhuber. A submission win after that, made his debut against Michael Trezano, won that fight by 3rd-round knockout, and then lost to Pat Sabatini by submission. So, yeah, I think we have probably a striker versus grappler matchup, although Gomis, has some striking himself. Gomis kind of has that William Knight style of just doing completely nothing on the feet, but, defensively, he's pretty good. Does a lot of backing up, though, not really powerful. I think Almeida is going to have the advantage in the striking just because he does a lot more. But, Gomis is probably going to have a path to victory here. We saw Almeida taken down and just dominated by Pat Sabatini. Although that is Pat Sabatini, that seems to be something Almeida struggled with. There's another fight where he was taken down and controlled. He is a black belt in BJJ, but I don't think his takedown defense or get-up game is that great. So Gomis is probably going to want to go out here and wrestle, get the fight down to the mat. Very interesting matchup here. I think Gomis is a decent-sized favorite, if I remember correctly. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, he's a decent-sized favorite, and Gomis is young, dude. He's still only 26 years old, so he's 6.5 years younger than Lucas Almeida, and he's going to be taller and have the 2-inch reach advantage here, and he's a southpaw in the southpaw versus orthodox matchup. So we love all of those measurables advantages for William Gomis. And then he's got a little more time in the cage. He's got a little more time as a pro and in the UFC. But it's Lucas Almeida who's the much better finisher here. 14 finishes in 14 wins, 9 knockouts, 5 submissions. And yeah, we did see Almeida really get exposed by Pat Sabatini, but Pat Sabatini is a phenomenal wrestler and grappler. So it's a completely different stylistic matchup going up against somebody like Gomis, who doesn't have the Brazilian jiu-jitsu pedigree that Lucas Almeida does, or certainly that Pat Sabatini does, because Gomis only has 1 win by submission in his entire career, and that's in 14 fights and 12 wins. And his only loss it comes by submission. So William Gomis is 1-1 to the submission in his career, but he's 6-0 to the knockout. But the problem is that Lucas Almeida is 9-0 to the knockout. And here's the difference. William Gomis is averaging 8.2 distance strike attempts per minute. Lucas Almeida, that's at distance. Lucas Almeida is attempting 16.9. So he's doubling the output that William Gomis throws out there. So I kind of feel like it's going to be on Gomis to win minutes at distance, or I mean at grappling range here, because if he doesn't, Almeida is going to be doing more, and I'm not going to be convinced that William Gomis is more powerful than Lucas Almeida. I don't think that there's any chance of that. This guy Almeida's got real power, and he's got real finishing ability, while Gomis got about a 58% finish rate and didn't finish either of his UFC wins. You know, we know that Almeida's got a 100% finish rate and is a savage finisher, and that Almeida is actually 5-1 to the submission in his career, while Gomis 1-1 to the submission. So, yeah, I like Lucas Almeida here. The distance striking numbers are just much better. They both have solid differentials, but Almeida's accuracy is much better. The defense is not nearly as good, but we got to remember that Gomis was fighting Jarno Aarons and Francis Marshall. Lucas Almeida is going to be a much bigger guy than both of those guys. So I like Almeida here, Brady. I think that he's going to be able to keep this fight standing. And if he does, I think he's going to be the much more dangerous guy. I think he'll be the guy landing the heavier shots for sure. And I also think that optically, Almeida throwing more and being the one that's way more likely to move forward is just going to look a lot better. And so Gomis better get takedowns and he better win minutes with them. But this is not Pat Sabatini that he's fighting. It's William Gomis. So I kind of like the plus money on Lucas here.
Yep. Same here. I haven't bet it yet just because I feel like Gomis does have a path to victory here with the wrestling, but like you said, only one submission, so he's not going to submit Lucas Almeida, who again is a black belt, and Gomis is most definitely not Pat Sabatini. So yeah, I'm not high on Gomis at all. I don't think he's that great. He's 2-0 in the UFC, but I don't know what's up with Francis Marshall. Francis Marshall just did not show up in that fight. Francis Marshall landed like 15 strikes in 15 minutes. It was a horrible performance there. So Lucas Almeida will land 15 strikes probably within the first 60 seconds. I mean, this guy's a wild man on the feed. So yeah, Almeida is an underdog. He is currently sitting at plus 130, and Gomis is sitting at minus 150.
Yeah, and it makes sense. I mean, Almeida's going to be going a long way for this fight. Gomis at home in front of the friendly crowd, and he's won close decisions, you know. So a majority decision against Aarons, you know, a split decision against Francis Marshall, you know. So this guy, even though he is winning, he's not really doing it in spectacular fashion or anything like that. And we know that Almeida can win in spectacular fashion. So I like the fact that he's a lot more dangerous here. I like the fact that he should be the better minute winner with the volume. And I think optically he'll be looking better and landing the bigger shots. So I don't mind the plus money shot in Lucas Almeida here.
Dixon says, but he couldn't KO Sabatini. But listen to this. Sabatini didn't give him an opportunity. That Sabatini fight lasted 6 minutes and 48 seconds. Sabatini had 6 minutes and 27 seconds of control time. That means it was at range for like what, less than 20 seconds?
I think 19 seconds. Yeah.
Wild.
So I mean, yeah, he couldn't find a knockout in 19 seconds against Pat Sabatini, which is actually 100% of Pat Sabatini's record. You know, nobody found a knockout against him in 19 seconds.
Yeah, so yeah, I think Gomis will have to implement that same game plan more than likely. I think Gomis is a good striker. He just doesn't do anything. Like, he throws nothing at all. Like, he's the lowest volume fighter I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, we'll see what happens there. But yeah, I do like the plus money on Almeida. Dogger pass for me. All right, let's move on to the next fight. We have Volkan Oezdemir going against Bogdan Guskov. We have Oezdemir, 33 years old, 6'2" with a 75-inch reach. We got Guskov, 30 years old, 6'3". We have Guskov 3 years younger. Oezdemir is going to get a 1-inch height disadvantage. Oezdemir is 2-3 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Alexander Rakic, a knockout loss against Jiri, a decision loss against Magomed Ankalaev, a decision win against Paul Craig, and then a decision loss against Nikita Krylov. As far as Guskov, this guy is 4-1. in his last 5 fights. So yeah, I was looking to maybe fade Volkan, but I'm not sure this is going to be the guy to do so. So Guskov, this guy has a 100% finish rate. The majority of those coming in the first round. Every time I've seen him outside of the first round, he looks terrible. There was this one fight where he was getting taken down in the second, just looked completely exhausted, really tired. This guy's been the distance only once in his career, and that one fight was only a 2-round fight. Only 2 rounds went the distance, and he did lose that fight. So this guy's never seen a third round in his entire career. I don't think he has the cardio to go into the third round. And I'm kind of getting some fraud vibes from this guy. I mean, he looks super dangerous. He's knocking these guys out, but he's knocking out guys that aren't really great. Whereas Volkan Oezdemir, this guy's fighting, some of the top guys in the division, guys like Jiří Procházka, Alexander Rakic, Magomed Ankalaev, Paul Craig. He's fought, the who's who, whereas Guskov just fighting nobody. So although I was looking to fade Oezdemir, I don't like how he's looked as of late. Even that Paul Craig fight, he just looked terrible. But I don't think Guskov really belongs here, or if he does, he hasn't proven it yet. So give me Oezdemir. And to be honest, I'm kind of surprised by this line. Like, I'm not sure why Oezdemir is only like minus 150 against a guy that's literally proven nothing. He looks good, but against just nobody. And if this fight, gets in a couple minutes in, maybe second round, I mean, I don't like his chances as long as this fight goes on. So yeah, give me Oezdemir here. Oezdemir probably by finish as well. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, when you look at the last 5 names for Oezdemir, right? Alexander Rakic, Jiří Procházka, Magomed Ankalaev, Paul Craig, Nikita Krylov, and only one of those guys finished Volkan Oezdemir, and it was Jiří Procházka, the champ, the guy who would still be champ if he didn't have to, give up his belt because of an injury. These guys, what they would do to Bogdan Guskov's opponents, I mean, like, these guys would give him a wedgie, throw him outside the cage, drag him back into the locker room, and then, take him into the toilet and give him a swirly. These guys are bums that this guy Guskov is beating. So there's just a completely different level of competition here. And then, like you said, what happens when it gets out of the first round? This guy's really not showing any conditioning. He doesn't really show much of a grappling game. So potentially Oezdemir might even wrestle in the first round and just say, you know what, I'm going to wrestle in the first round. You're going to wear me like a cheap suit. And then in the second round, when you're completely gassed, I'm just going to knock you out. Yeah, I don't really understand the line here. And if you're one of these type of people who likes seeing fat people get knocked out, you're going to love Bogdan Guskov's highlight reel. Let me tell you something. He is stomping on fat dudes left and right, knocking them senseless. Dudes that don't belong in cage, with really good fighters. These guys are getting starched by Bogdan Guskov. So, yeah, I mean, the Vadim Litvin fight, that was hilarious. I don't try not to disrespect fighters ever, but like this guy Litvin, he got touched once and he shelled up, dude. It reminded me of some of Alan Amadovsky's fights when he was fighting pretzel vendors somewhere in Macedonia, and they'd bring on a guy that was 0-39, and that like a punch would whiz by his face and then he would just drop like a sack of potatoes and cover up. That's what a lot of these fights look like for Guskov. So I just don't know what to think. I mean, he's been in a couple of decent promotions before, and when he fought Vasilevsky in ACB, I think it was, or whether it was Fight Nights Global, I don't know. Like, he got knocked out in the first round, and this guy was way smaller than him. He was getting lit up, dude. His striking defense is not good.
It's very bad.
It's really bad. He blocks punches with his face. So, yeah, man, this is weird. It feels like a trap because it feels like Oezdemir should be minus 250 here. You just look at the names that he's been in there. I mean, he's having competitive fights with top 5 guys, and Bogdan Guskov hasn't fought anybody in the top 150. So yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, and Guskov's taking this on short notice too. This was supposed to be Oezdemir versus Mirzakhanov, so Yeah, I think Oezdemir should destroy this guy, but Guskov hits hard.
He does.
So, I mean, everyone's got a puncher's chance in this game. So, yeah, Guskov can land a big shot, but this guy Oezdemir, he looks pretty durable too to me. So, if Rakic isn't getting you out of there, if Ankalaev isn't getting you out of there, Nikita Krylov's got a career 97% finish rate. He didn't get him out of there. So and Guskov's got a 100% finish rate. He's not winning minutes against anybody at this level. So, yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like this has got to be Oezdemir.
Yep, agreed. And I was looking at maybe the under. It was like -115. Now it's -130. I think even at -130, it's pretty solid considering this guy has been over 1.5 rounds. I think like once in his entire career. And like I said, that one fight that did go to decision, it was only a 2-round fight, and it was actually at like a catch weight of like 220. So not even at light heavy. So.
Wow.
And that was back in 2016 as well. So yeah, I don't see this fight going the distance. So maybe like the fight won't start round 3 even could be a decent spot, but I think violence is, especially considering he's coming here on short notice. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, because it was supposed to be Murzakanov, but it's not that short a notice. Like I think he was on the card like 3 weeks ago, so it's not like he's taking this on 6 days notice or 10 days notice. He's had a decent amount of time here, and he's on a 4.5 month layoff is Guskov. But, we haven't seen Oezdemir in a minute. It'll be over 10 months by the time the fight day rolls around.
Yeah. So interesting fight. Interesting line. Like Oezdemir right now is like the same price he was against Paul Craig, like -150 range.
That's wild to me. Maybe people just don't think Oezdemir is that good anymore, but I mean, he's still only 34 years old. And I mean, you look at this guy's, he's got 12 UFC fights, Brady. Look at the combined records of the guys that he's fighting. 101 wins and 63 losses at the UFC record. I mean, he's fighting really top-notch guys. The first guy that he fought was Ovince St. Preux. He got a win against him, and then he just started stacking them from there. This guy was in there against Cormier, for Christ's sake. So he's fought everybody, man. I mean, like, he should be able to kick the shit out of Bogdan Guskov.
Exactly.
I mean, like, he's better than this guy. I mean, everywhere.
Yeah. 100%. So we'll see. I might, you could even like maybe bet the Oezdemir money line if you want to hedge like Gustav round 1, because I don't see this guy doing anything outside the first couple minutes. I mean, his cardio looked horrible in the one fight that got in the second round. He was like so tired. So yeah, I think he's round 1 KO or bust. So yeah, I think Oezdemir probably should be a bigger favorite. But yeah, somebody in the chat said Oezdemir does look like he's on somewhat of a decline, but I think he's still good enough to beat Guskov.
Yeah. I mean, he's still only 34, and that's really young for this weight class. We saw like Randy Couture out there at like 47 holding dudes up against the cage at 205. So, I mean, anything's possible. He's only 33. So, yeah, I think Oezdemir gets the job done here.
Right there with you. All right, Weezy, we'll move on to, this is a very good fight, but this is honestly the fight that I'm struggling with the most on the entire card. And I think it's one of the closer line fights on the card. So it makes sense. But yeah, I'm really struggling with this one. I'm curious to hear your thoughts, Weezy. We have Benoît Saint-Denis going against Thiago Moisés. We got Saint-Denis, 27 years old, 5'11" with a 73-inch reach. Moisés, 28 years old, 5'9" with a 70-inch reach. We got Saint-Denis 1 year younger, 2-inch height advantage, 3-inch reach advantage. Benoît Saint-Denis 4-1. In his last 5 fights, made his debut up a weight class against Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos, lost that fight by decision, submitted Nicholas Stolze, knocked out Gabriel Miranda, and then got a win against Ismail Bonfim in his last fight by submission. As far as Thiago Moisés, he is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Decision win against Alexander Hernandez, submission loss against Islam Makhachev, knockout loss against Joel Alvarez, a submission win against Christos Giagos, and Mel Costa, submission win as well. So, I mean, this is a massive step up of competition for Benoît Saint-Denis. Funny enough, Weezy, Benoît Saint-Denis was actually an underdog against Ismail Bonfim in his last fight, and now he's the favorite against Thiago Moisés, a guy in Moisés who's fought guys like Beneil Dariush. He's fought guys like Islam Makhachev, very, very, very good guys in the division. But, I was looking through Moisés' record and seeing, what happens or when guys really try to take him down. And the only guys that really had success grappling Thiago Moisés was Beneil Dariush and obviously Islam Makhachev. So I'm not sure Benoît Saint-Denis is going to go out there and out-grapple a very, very, very high-level grappler in Thiago Moisés. Yeah, I have no idea what's going to happen in this fight. Help me out, Weezy. And I think you're muted.
I was muted. I see Joel S. saying Moisés decline. Moisés is 28 years old. He's 28 years old. You guys, he's got 10 UFC fights. He's fought like literally the toughest guys in the division, and he's 6-4 in the UFC. I mean, like, this guy is not declining. He's improving. He's gonna get better. This is a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu world champion here. This is another one that just doesn't make a lot of sense to me, right? Thiago Moisés is more experienced by a lot. You know, I mean, we're talking about 185 more minutes of cage time. We're talking about almost 7 more years as a pro fighter, 6 more fights at the UFC level, over 80 more minutes in the UFC octagon. Thiago Moisés has better striking than Benoît Saint-Denis. Thiago Moisés on paper is a much better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player than Benoît Saint-Denis, and Thiago Moisés has fought the much better brand of competition overall. And like you said, Benoît Saint-Denis was plus 275 against Ismael Bonfim, and now you're going to make him a favorite against Thiago Moisés? These guys are very similar, but Moisés on paper, we know more about this guy. We know a lot more about this guy. I don't care that Benoît Saint-Denis beat Nicholas Stolze and Gabriel Miranda. And yeah, I mean, Ismael Bonfim is a guy who had been submitted in every one of his losses before this Benoît Saint-Denis fight. So I was pissed off at myself that I didn't get Benoît Saint-Denis at plus 275. But against Bonfim, that would have been a really nice hit. And I was looking at it all week, and I was saying, man, there's a path for him. You got to pull the trigger. Didn't pull the trigger, but I don't think now's the time to overreact here. This is Thiago Moisés. This is a very, very high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu player, and there's nothing that Benoît Saint-Denis has that Moisés hasn't seen already against guys like Dariush and Islam Makhachev. So I kind of feel like Moisés is a little bit better everywhere here. I know more about him. I have more information about him. I've seen him out there absolutely piecing up guys like Alexander Hernandez in round number 3 with his striking. And I see him getting submissions against guys like Yagos and Costa as soon as they make a mistake and give up their back. I like Moisés here, but Benoît Saint-Denis is really hot right now. He's got a lot of hype. He's fighting at home in France. The kid is still only 27 years old, but I think a lot of people forget that Thiago Moisés is not 33 and on his way out. He's 28, you know, and he's already fought a lot of really good names. This is a big, big test for Benoît Saint-Denis. It's a big step up in competition. And we just saw this guy get his face boxed off by Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos. It was up a weight class, and it was his UFC debut. And now he's down at 155 at his proper weight class, and he's looking a lot better there. But I kind of like Thiago Moisés here. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it's a matchup that definitely confuses me. But yeah, from like a market standpoint, yeah, he was like plus 275, right? Against Bonfim.
Yeah. Plus 275, and now he's a favorite against, you know, this is recency bias. This is what we're supposed to take advantage of as long-term gamblers who are trying to be plus EV and have that long-term return on investment as a positive percentage. You know, it's these overcorrections in the market that we have to take advantage of. And this is one of them, in my opinion.
Yeah, and it looks like Saint-Denis is becoming a bigger favorite. So he was sitting around plus money for a couple days, and then he went to minus 105, minus 110, minus 125, minus 135, and he is currently minus 145. And I think it'll be a very popular play. As we always say, Weezy, hype drives the line, and hype is going to drive this line throughout the week. So I'm going to sit back, see where this line goes. There's a lot of Benoît Saint-Denis fans in the chat talking about him being special forces. But yeah, it's a fight that it's dog or pass for me. And then
can I bring up one more stat, Brady?
Yeah,
Benoît Saint-Denis got 3 UFC wins. The combined UFC records of the 3 guys that he beat, 1 win and 5 losses.
That's pretty good.
You know, yeah, right? Yeah. He's beating winless Stolze, winless Miranda, and Ismael Bonfim, who has 1 win. So, yeah, I mean, Moisés, the guys that he's fighting have a combined UFC record of 72 wins and 48 losses. And the guys that he's beating, 34 wins, 39 losses. You know, veteran guys that have 12 fights apiece are the guys that Thiago Moisés has beaten. So, yeah, definitely a lot better strength to schedule stats for Moisés.
Yep, it'll definitely be an unpopular pick. I see a lot of people on Benoît. I think even Clint was on him when we looked at the. Let's see. Yep,
Yes.
Clint's on him, and Clint's been hot, man. But Clint is on him at -115. He got some CLV there. Might need to ship off the CLV trophy to him.
Yep. CLV is a good thing, man. You know, it doesn't always work out, but when it does, you really feel good about the play that you made.
There you go. Shout out to Clint for that CLV. All right, Weezy, we'll keep moving on then to the next fight. We have Manon Fiorot going against Rose Namajunas. We got Fiorot, 33 years old, 5'7" with a 65-inch reach. Rose Namajunas, 31 years old, 5'5" with a 65-inch reach. We have Fiorot 2 years older. Fiorot with a 2-inch height advantage and same reach there. So Manon Fiorot is 5-0 in her last 5 fights. She knocked out Victoria Leonardo, knocked out Tabitha Ricci, won a decision against Mara Bueno Silva, Jennifer Maia, and Caitlin Chukagan. As far as Rose Namajunas, she is 3-2 in her last 5 fights. Knockout loss against Jessica Andrade, close decision win against Jessica Andrade, a knockout win against Zhang Weili, head kick first round, a close decision against Zhang Weili across 25, and then a decision loss against Carla Esparza in the worst fight I've ever seen in my life. So yeah, I mean, this is a fight where Rose Namajunas is coming up a weight class. It's been about a year since we've seen her, and she's taken on Manon Fiorot, who's going to be much, much bigger, much, much stronger. She's going to have much, much more volume, much more power. I like Manon Fiorot a lot in this matchup. Like, I'm not sure where Rose really wins this. Like, is Rose going to go out there and take down Manon Fiorot? No, she's not. Manon Fiorot has an incredible takedown defense against actual flyweights. Rose coming up a weight class, I don't think she's going to be able to drag her down to the mat. Is Rose going to be able to go out there and knock out Fiorot? No. Out volume Fiorot? I really don't think so. So, yeah, I think it's a great spot for Manon Fiorot here. She's sitting around -175. I think that's kind of generous. I just don't see how Rose is going to win this fight, to be honest. I know Rose is very good, or at least she was very good. Her last performance was just horrible. I'm not sure what happened in that Esparza fight, but yeah, I like Fiorot here. Weezy, what are your thoughts on this one?
I like Fiorot a lot here. What Manon really does best, in my opinion, Brady, is just manage distance at range, right? It's very, very hard to close the distance on this woman. 51 minutes at distance striking range. She's sporting a 73.7% distance striking defense. That's mind-blowing. You know, the average distance striking defense in this division is sitting around 58%. She's 73% against flyweights, against real flyweights, not straw weights moving up a weight class here. Manon's karate is phenomenal, and she just uses those side kicks to pepper you, maintain range, beat up your legs, and anytime you get reckless trying to close the distance, you will see that straight right down the pipe, and it can break your face and knock you out. Fiorot's very, very strong. Her grappling is severely underrated, in my opinion. She gets takedowns, you know, and that's something that people really weren't expecting from her, but she gets more takedowns than the divisional average. She's getting them at a 50% clip. She's been taken down once on 6 attempts, and she gives up less than 2.5% control time. So less than 1 out of 40 seconds of her cage time at flyweight is she being controlled by people. Now, obviously with Thug Rose, you got a really good mixed martial artist here who's a former champion. 2 wins over Weili Zhang. You know, and we see what Weili's done recently, which is strange, you know. You feel like you could go right back down to strawweight and get a title shot knowing that you beat this woman twice, but now here you are moving up to 125 after what could only be described as a bizarre performance against Carla Esparza. And then you got to wonder if that moron Pat Barry's going to even be in her corner again. Right? Is he? Do you know?
He should be, I think.
I mean, we talk about bad haircuts, right, Brady? What about bad choices of boyfriends? You know, I mean, like, come on, dude. This guy Barry's a goddamn mess. I've never heard this guy open up his mouth and speak a sentence that made even a half a lick of sense. So I don't know, like, if you're letting this dude in your corner and to give you advice for championship fights or for high level fights like this, that's even worse than a bad haircut. You know, I mean, Ronda Rousey never had a bad haircut, but boy, did she have a bad fucking coach. What about What about our guy Diego, the Nightmare Sanchez? Bad coach. You know, you got some bad coaches out there, and I think Pat Barry might be one of them, dude. Yeah. So Rose is gonna have to close the distance here and maybe try to grapple. But the biggest problem, in my opinion, Brady, is that we see these 51 minutes of distance striking stats for Fiorot, and you see 126 minutes of distance striking stats for Rose Namajunas. There's a volume problem here, dude. Rose is going to get out volumed this entire fight. She doesn't throw enough volume. She's only attempting 10.87 distance strike attempts per minute. That's 3.56 less than the divisional average, while Manon is attempting 16.83. She's extremely accurate at 40.64%. She's got a positive 3.52 distance striking differential, and she's nearly impossible to find with a 73.7% distance striking defense. And then you look, 83% of Manon Fiorot's fights are taking place at distance striking range. And the other 17%, she's winning 86% of those control time positions. Where does she win this fight? Where does Rose Namajunas win this fight is the question that I'm asking you, Brady. I'm asking the chat. If you're on Rose, tell me how she wins this fight. According to my metric, you know, Manon Fiorot's wins are almost as good as Rose Namajunas' at this point, and they're coming up a weight class in addition to that. Yeah, I got to go with Manon here.
Yeah, Matt A is not too happy with us because he is on Rose and he is on Saint-Denis. So Matt A, how do you think? Yeah, it's no problem. He's just being a little hostile in there. But what is Rose's path to victory? Because I'm not. Oh, maybe a head kick, maybe. That'd be kind of tough against Fiorot, though. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, she just doesn't get hit a lot. Only 3.32 times per minute at distance is she getting hit. And that's on 12.64 distance strike attempts. You know, she's just really, really good on the feet here.
Hail Mary sub potentially.
Yeah, we've seen that. We've seen Rose Namajunas pull off a flying triangle back in her Invicta days. So yeah, I mean, like there's low percentage, you know, outcomes that can happen in any fight. But you know, if you're laying that money on Rose, what are you saying? You know, are you saying that she's going to catch her with a head kick? Do you think that she's going to get takedowns in 2 out of the 3 rounds and win minutes there? Is she going to land the bigger shots at distance? You know, is she going to land more at distance? Is she going to be the one pressuring? I mean, I think the answer to all those questions is no.
JR saying Rose by I'm the best. I could see that.
She is. I remember when Joe Rogan, you're the best. I'm the best. You know, and she was. She beat Weili Zhang twice, and that is not an accomplishment that we should underrate at all here.
I know. Twister, I could yes, Twister maybe. Oh, we got Blood Money in the chat. What is up, Blood Money? Professor saying I don't think the level of competition compares. I mean, it's a different weight class, but yeah. And then Sean K, which is not Sean B.
You know what? I'm sorry, dude. No, dude. Mayra Bueno Silva, Jennifer Maia, Caitlin Chookagian is her last 3 fights. Tabitha Ricci, since she knocked out Tabitha Ricci, is 4-0 in the UFC. These are 2 different weight classes, you guys. Mayra Bueno Silva is going to be fighting for the 135-pound belt next, probably. Jennifer Maia has fought for the 125-pound belt. Caitlin Chookagian has fought for the 125-pound belt. So don't tell me that Manon Fiorot is not fighting really good competition up a weight class. She is. She's fought 3 of the top 5.
Yep, I mean, she's fighting very, very good competition. So yeah, I'm on Fiorot. I'm not sure I'll better because I told you this, Weezy. Like, these are the spots that effed me, all last year. Just getting effed after effed after effed, laying chalk on WMMA confidently, but I like it. I mean, minus 175 for Manon. I think it should be wider.
I do too.
Unless I'm missing something. Is Manon coming in with, injury or
she's been out for a while, Brady.
Yeah,
but Rose has been out longer.
Mm-hmm.
And why is she moving up a weight class? You have 2 wins over the current champion at 115. Why are you moving up to 125?
I don't know. It doesn't make much sense to me, Weezy.
Maybe Pat Barry wants his girlfriend to have more junk in the trunk.
Maybe. Manon had surgery.
Yeah, she did. Yeah, I forget what it was, but I remember that she was supposed to fight somebody else, and then that fight got called off because Fiorot had to pull out. So we'll see what she looks like.
Matt says, you guys, money lining her sounds I'm confident, but I've been confident in like other spots in the past, and it just never seems to work out. But yeah, I might get to a money line bet. We'll see.
Yeah, I could see maybe like parlaying Fiorot's money line with Basharat's money line and getting plus money, and then that way maybe 1 unit to like at Bet Online, Manon Fiorot Farid Basharat parlay on the money lines is plus 108. That would be probably the way that I would play, because I hate laying juice on women's MMA. And if I could find 2 juicy lines, parlay them together for a small risk, that would probably be the way I'd play it.
Yeah, funny you said that because Mushroom just put the same parlay right there. Manon, Basharat, plus money.
I like it. That I looked at it at plus 108 on Bet Online just before the show started. So I think that's a good look.
All right, and then last question, they'll move on. Sean's asking you, why can't strawweights be competitive at 125? The 125 champ was 115.
Yeah, I mean, Grasso did move up after missing weight a couple of times. So yeah, I mean, they can. They absolutely can. But look, it's a different type of fight against Manon Fiorot because of the distance management, because of the karate style, because of how she catches people coming in. Rose is not a walking forward like a zombie closing distance type of fighter. She's a distance minute winner when she fights at 115, but she's not big up here.
And then Joel saying Basharat 1 out of 10 confidence. I say like 8.
Yeah, I mean, you never know if maybe Clayton's just been killing himself to get to 125. He might actually, come out and surprise us a little bit at 135. But this guy, Farid Basharat, really looks ready. He looks composed. He looks well-rounded. He looks like he's making good decisions in the cage, and that he's got multiple paths to victory. So I really like what I've seen from him so far. And I really rate that Blackshear win highly.
Yep, me as well. All right, Weezy, it is now time for the main event. The fight we've been waiting for this fight. We've been waiting about it. I think we've talked about it at least once weekly, a couple times. Like, this is the fight that we've really been waiting forward to. Looking forward to. We have Ciryl Gane going against a vampire, Sergey Spivak. We have Ciryl Gane. He's 33 years old, 6'4" with an 81-inch reach. Sergey Spivak. Weezy, you put 28 here. I think this guy is 600 years old.
I think he's at least that old.
This guy's been around for years.
The coffin that he got pictured outside of, I think, is 1,000 years old. So who knows, man? Like, Transylvanian vampires go back thousands of years, man. God bless Sergey Spivak for finding the courage to fight at night and overcome this life problem that he has,
So we'll just call it 2,000. He's 2,000 years old. He's 6'3" with a 78-inch reach. We have Ciryl Gane is going to be over 1,000 years younger. He's going to have a 1-inch height advantage and a 3-inch reach advantage. Ciryl Gane is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. A decision win against Alexander Volkov, a knockout win against Derek Lewis, a decision win against Francis Ngannou, a knockout win against Tai Tuivasa, and then a submission loss against John Jones. As far as Sergey Spivak, he has 4-1 in his last 5 fights, a decision win against Alexei Oleinik, a knockout loss against Tom Aspinall, knockout win against Greg Hardy, knockout win against Augusto Sakai, and then a submission win against Derek Lewis. Weezy, we have about as clear of a striker versus grappler matchup as we're ever going to get. On the feet, Ciryl Gane is going to have a significant advantage. And I think Spivak has made improvements in terms of the striking, but Gane is clearly the much better striker. And then on the ground, Spivak is an absolute monster on the mat. Very, very physically strong, able to just take guys that weigh 265 pounds and just throw them around like they're nothing. And then his grappling's good, his ground and pound's good. So I guess it all comes down to who's going to be able to implement their game plan. Is Gane going to be able to stay on the outside, stuff these takedowns, pick apart Sergey Spivak, catch him with something, or is Spivak going to be able to close the distance, get a hold of Ciryl Gane, and ragdoll him down to the mat and finish him? So Weezy, I know you've been looking forward to this fight for a long time. I know you're a big fan of Spivak. You've been high on this guy for a long time. I just started to recently become high on him, but you've been on the Spivak train for as long as anyone I can remember.
Yeah, and then the thing about the heavyweight division is you have to realize that there's not a lot of skill up here. When you're a large man, there's not a lot of, like really athletic 6'5", 250-pound dudes, right? Once you get to be that big, you're not going to have brilliant footwork most of the time. You're not going to have great speed most of the time. You're not even going to have really great hand-eye coordination because you're such a big human being, So when you can do one thing really well in this division, just like Ciryl Gane is a phenomenal range manager and minute winner with his distance striking, and that led him to get title shots, to fight for the title by being a guy who can't grapple for shit, with very little experience, lazy in the training room, but he can strike and he can move and he's got great footwork, so that led him to almost be champion. Well, with a guy like Spivak, a guy with a Sambo background, a Greco-Roman wrestling background, really good cardio, and solid, serviceable heavyweight level boxing. The boxing's not going to get him anywhere in this fight because Cyryl's going to be way better on the feet. But what Sergey can do is get inside, get his arms around you, and then when he does, you're going for a ride. And then when he gets on top of you, there's all the undead shit, where you can like draw dude's energy. You remember when Derek Lewis like almost passed out just after looking Sergey Spivak in the eyes?
Yeah, he did.
When they met at they both made weight. They were set to fight, and then they've squared off. He looks that in the face, Derek Lewis, and that man, Derek Lewis, the heavyweight knockout king, was literally drawn of all of his energy, and the doctors didn't even clear him to fight. From looking into Sergey Spivak's eyes for 5 seconds? All right. This is a problem because Ciryl Gane has only had 11 takedowns attempted against him in 10 UFC fights. And he's been taken down on 6 of those 11 attempts. And that's a problem because this guy Sergey can take down anybody in the division. And Ciryl Gane's grappling is fucking awful. When you see white belts going for leg locks, that's a bad thing at the UFC level. Now, if you're a white belt and you go for a leg lock against a fighter, say the quality of, I don't know, Don'Tale Mayes, let's say. Let's just throw that name out there. Sure, that might work. If you roll for a leg lock against Sergey Spivak, he's going to pound your fucking head through the canvas. And you know it, dude. He went for a leg lock. Gane went for a leg lock against Mayes. Gane went for a leg lock against Francis Ngannou that literally cost him the title. One of the dumbest fight IQ moves that you can make. And Francis Ngannou didn't even try to wrestle until what? The 3rd or the 4th round in that fight? So, Sergey Spivak knows what he needs to do to win this fight. He needs to wrestle. And if he does that, there's no evidence to suggest that Ciryl Gane, that his wrestling is going to hold up against a 6,000-year-old Transylvanian vampire who can actually win fights before they even start just by looking into your eyes. So, Sergey Spivak, 27 takedowns in 10 fights. He averages 5.05 per 15 minutes. He outcontrols his opponents 41.2% to 15.6%, winning 72.5% of the control time positions that he's been in. He has not fought as good a level of competition as Ciryl Gane, that is for sure. But styles make fights. And the guys that Ciryl Gane is beating are guys that are not trying takedowns against him. That loss against John Jones, I know John Jones is the greatest mixed martial artist of all time, but that was embarrassing. That was embarrassing. And, you know, and it's even more embarrassing to get out wrestled by Francis Ngannou, because Francis Ngannou is not fast. He is not athletic. Sergey Spivak is a way better wrestler than Francis Ngannou, and Ngannou got a takedown whenever he wanted one. So that hole was exposed in his game. It's still there. You can't learn to wrestle in 3 months, especially if you're going to be going up against, you know, as good of a wrestler and Sambo practitioner as Sergey Spivak. So this line makes no sense to me. I get it. If this is a striking match, if Ciryl Gane, you know, if he winds up just being at distance striking range for this whole fight, yeah, he's eventually going to knock out Sergey Spivak and win like in the 4th or the 5th round through attritional striking. But every time Sergey Spivak gets to a dominant position against a heavyweight, the fight is over soon thereafter. And like Gane is not good on the ground. So I think that it's just a matter of time before Spivak gets the takedown. And once he does, I think he's going to break Ciryl Gane on the ground shortly thereafter.
Yeah, I think it's probably round 1. I just think Spivak's going to have such an advantage on the mat. See, I like the Spivak money line. I actually have 2 bets on this fight. One is the money line plus 155. It is currently around there. It just makes no sense. I mean, obviously, Gane is going to be the much better striker. And I think, you know, if Gane is able to stuff the takedowns, keep it on the feet, yeah, he's going to look like a massive favorite. But I think Spivak could look like a massive favorite too if he's able to get a hold of this guy, throw him down to the mat, and just expose him once again. So I think it should be closer to a pick'em, and it is not a pick'em at all. It's Gane's minus 170. So I'm on the Spivak money line, and I like the under 2.5 as well. Striker versus grappler matchup. I think on the ground, Spivak's going to have a significant advantage, and then on the feet, Gane is going to have a significant advantage as well. Yeah, this is the second person today I say that Gane's a lock. I don't know how you could say it's a sure thing. Like, has anybody? I mean, his ground game sucks. It's terrible. If it's on the if this was a fight that was the 25 minutes on the feet, then yes, it's a sure thing. This is this is an MMA fight, right, Weezy, or no?
Yeah, it's an MMA fight, you know, and I mean, like, that's the thing. It's like, remember yesterday we had Justin Tafa versus Parker Porter, and it was like, okay, if Porter gets Tafa down, you know, he can win this fight. But you see that Porter's getting his takedowns at a 22% clip, and that he's never had more than 2 takedowns in a fight. You look at a guy like Spivak, who gets 8 takedowns against Tuivasa, threw him around like a sack of wheat. And the first time he got to a dominant position against that guy, he finished him. And then he got up and he did an interview, and he wasn't even tired after throwing Tai Tuivasa around, a 290-pound man. 8 takedowns in that fight for Sergey Spivak. So yeah, this guy is a phenomenal wrestler, and Gane's, you know, ground game is dog shit. This line doesn't make any sense, because yeah, even if you're on the Gane side, you should be willing to say to yourself, yeah, if Spivak wrestles, he looks minus 200, and I'm getting him for plus 140.
Yeah, and yeah, I thought about this as well, Dustin. Spivak has been grappling in the Apex for the most part.
Yeah.
That Hardy fight was not in the Apex, though, for what it's worth. But in both fights where Gane was out grappled, those were both not in the Apex. One was in California, and the other one was in Vegas. So yeah, we'll have to see, Weezy. But this line is very interesting to say the least. You know, would it shock me if Gane won? No, I mean, if he's able to keep this standing, he's going to look like a massive favorite. It's just if he gets taken down, Gane bettors are going to be sweating very, very, very bad. I mean, if he gets taken down, it's probably over. It's probably over shortly after. But Gane is the better striker, so we'll see. Striker versus grappler. That's why I think it should be a pick. I don't think either guy should be favored, because both guys are going to have significant advantages in their area. Like Gane in the striking, Spivak in the wrestling. It's going to come down to who's able to implement that game plan. So I think a pick sounds about right to me.
Yeah, I agree with that because you got Ciryl Gane in the big cage in France, so he's the hometown fighter. The big cage gives him more room to work and win minutes at range with that fantastic speed and footwork and distance management that he has. Obviously, he has a path here. Nobody's saying that he doesn't have a path. This is about the line. I got plus 165 on Spivak a couple of weeks ago. I went.
So you're one upping me again, huh?
Yeah, yeah, rarely one-upping you, but yeah, 165,
really good line.
Two units I got at that, so I'm looking to win 3.3 units just on the Spivak money line this week. And I feel like if he gets the takedown, it's going to be over. And here's the other thing too. The grappling cardio of Sergey Spivak is phenomenal. And I'm here to tell you that yes, Ciryl Gane has excellent cardio when he's striking. If Sergey Spivak goes out there and takes this guy down 3 times in round number 1, you're going to look at Gane sitting on that stool between rounds. And you're going to be like, holy shit, does he look tired? And yeah, he's going to be tired because he's grappling, because he's not striking. He's doing the things that he's not comfortable doing, that he clearly doesn't train as much. And I'm really hoping Gane goes for a leg lock. I'm going to laugh my ass off while Spivak pounds his head through the canvas. I'm going to be laughing so loud while I cash that 2-unit bet at plus 165.
Yeah, I think Spivak might try to bite him.
You think he might pull a Mike Tyson against an Evander Holyfield here, just take part of the ear off?
He might.
It's a great main event, man. And I'm really hoping Sergey Spivak takes this next step because I think he's a really good fighter.
Yep, and I think it's a good matchup to do so. So we will see. Marcus saying bet the house on. I wouldn't bet the house on the guy, but I think it's at plus money. It's worth a poke, I'd say.
Our guy Marcus puts his money where his mouth is. Brady.
He actually does bet the house.
Yes, he does.
He bets thousands. All right. So yeah, Weezy, we did it. I guess all that's left is we'll talk about where everybody can find us while we look at this beautiful picture of one Sergey Spivak. This terrifying picture. I mean, this guy's just terrifying.
Yeah, like he can choke you out with just one hand with those long ass fingers of his, man. But yeah, you can find me on my YouTube channel, Uncle Weezy. Tuesday night, 10 o'clock Central Time. We always do Just a Tip with Uncle Weezy after Dana White's Contender Series. I'll break down all 11 fights on this card, maybe 12 if we find an opponent for Lapalus. Finish with Uncle Weezy's ass shaving of the week and with Bootsy Collins's memorial Dogs Are Barking pick of the week. So looking forward to breaking down all those fights. You can find me on Wednesday on Pub Sports Radio doing the DFS show with Brady, Gordo, and Monk. And then right back on my channel Wednesday night. Yeah. 10 o'clock for Ask Weezy. Almost done with the prize picks template. Hopefully we'll have some content, prize picks related, maybe Wednesday, Thursday for you. And yeah, the only thing left to do, stack cashed tickets like flapjacks and drain the blood of Ciryl Gane in the main event to win me 3.3 units. Let's go.
This guy is just terrifying. I mean, this is the guy. I mean, he could play a killer in a horror movie.
Yeah. I mean, I think he has played killers in horror movies. He's just credited under a different name.
Yeah. Imagine waking up in the middle of the night and seeing that. I mean, that'd be frightening stuff. I mean, that guy he's a really good fighter. He's just terrifying looking. But yep, thank you all so much for watching. If you guys could please do us a favor, leave a like on your way out. Subscribe here to Pub Sports Radio. Me and Weezy go live every Sunday, breaking down the stats, getting really in depth. Talking about the things that aren't really talked about that should be talked about, like whether or not this fight is going to be taking place at night because Spivak is a vampire, and whether or not Ciryl Gane is going to be wearing a garlic necklace. I think people tend to leave stuff like that out of their capping. We bring it in there, and then yeah, we'll be back for the DFS show on Wednesday. Our schedules did not work out. We didn't have a show last week, but this Wednesday we will have a show. So be there Wednesday 7 o'clock. And yeah, you can follow me on Twitter, DFS_numbers, Instagram, DFS by the numbers. I put out a main event prediction video, and then tomorrow will be some Contender Series. I have to tape 3 fights tonight, and then, yeah, just the regular content schedule. So, yeah, guys, best of luck for UFC Paris, and we'll talk to you all very soon. See you.